Hey guys, how's it going? Today we'll be taking a look at 1000 kills of Giant Mole, and I'm sure you already knew that based on the title and the interesting intro that I decided to make for this video. Now it has been some time since I've done a loot from 1000 video. I think the last one I did was 1000 Vorkath, and that was almost a year ago, so I felt it was time to try out another boss. Ultimately, I decided to pick the Giant Mole as our boss of choice, just because it's an easy boss to kill and I can use my Twisted Bow here, which is very powerful. Now I have made a video on the Giant Mole before, but it was just a 1 hour moneymaker video, and I believe we also used the Twisted Bow there, but I think there was another video that I made. It might have been the Magic Egg Task video that I used Darox in, so if you don't have a Twisted Bow then you can definitely use Darox. Darox works, I'm not going to say just as good, but it's pretty darn good as well. And here's a look at the full gear setup that I used for this video. I did decide to go for full Armadillo along with the Pegasian boots, the Archer's Ring imbued, Barrow's gloves, the Ava's Assembler, I think, the Necklace of Anguish, and of course Dragon arrows. Now normally I'd use Amethyst arrows to save some money, but I figured let's go for faster kills. I also decided to bring my cannon, which of course is more expensive since you have to pay for the cannonballs, but again we were going for fast kills here. You'll also notice that I brought a rune pouch with blood, fire, and nature runes. The fire and nature runes were for high alching, and the blood runes were to pick up the blood rune drops that come from the Giant Mole. And I also have the Falador Shield 4 for locating the Giant Mole. If you don't have the Falador Shield, it's kind of a pain to kill this boss because whenever it burrows and goes somewhere else, you won't know where it went. So yeah, definitely make sure you have, I believe it's the hard diary you need done at least for that. It also gives me 2 full prayer restores per day, which is also nice. We did take advantage of that twice, so that was pretty cool. Now as for the strategy on how to kill the Giant Mole, it's very simple. I simply set up my cannon in this spot to help me out with some damage, and then when it spawns, I go to a little corner to try and safe spot it, because there's plenty of safe spots in this lair that you can find, especially if you're using range. And if you are able to get into the safe spot, then you don't have to pray melee. You can just simply flick Rigor if you want to save on prayer, but I pretty much just left Rigor on the entire time. If you're unfamiliar with how to get to this area, all you have to do is teleport to Falador, or even better, teleport to Falador Park, and then you can go to one of the dirt spots that you see right here and use the spade on it, and you will enter the lair. Also, make sure you bring a light source unless you already have this Fire of Eternal Light lit up, and you are good to go. Now, even though I do have the Twisted Bow, which is a over 1 bill item, this is still a game of RNG, so there were many times where it would just hit constant zeros. I think we've already shown actually where the mole had burrowed maybe like 5 times because I was just hitting constant zeros. I believe once you bring the mole down to half HP, every time you hit the mole, she has a chance of burrowing away and teleporting somewhere else. This can be very annoying when you're hitting very low numbers. Also, hits from the cannon can make her burrow and go away, and also if you, for whatever reason, decide to bring a poison weapon to poison her, the damage from the poison can also make her burrow, so I don't really recommend using poison. And speaking of poison, we did have a visitor right here. Yeah, not sure what was going on exactly, but a nice little shout out for this guy. He did ask me for 100k later on, and the reason why I mentioned the whole poison thing is because he was using, I think it was the Emerald Bolt E, which poisoned the target, and he did poison my mole once. Surprisingly, mole was pretty crowded. I'm not sure how crowded Giant Mole normally is, but it did take me some time to find open worlds whenever I would come here, and there were plenty of people killing the mole in very low level gear. I saw this guy with, of course, decent gear, but I also saw someone else with nothing but a adamant crossbow and a mithril kite shield, so pretty interesting. Maybe the Revenant update that nerfed them into the ground brought all of the gold farmers over to Giant Mole. I'm not really sure. Shield left half. How rare is that? So yes, I did receive the shield left half. I feel like I've gotten that drop so many times, And if the drop table on the wiki is correct and I'm not reading it wrong, then that is more rare than the pet, which is unfortunate, but it's just the way it goes. One of the perks of picking this boss was that it is very easy to kill. We can get a lot of kills per hour. I think I was averaging like around 75 kills an hour, which is pretty good. And the drop rate is a 1 in 3,000 for the baby mole, so it is definitely one of the more easier boss pets to obtain. And here's a look at another rare drop that we got, the Rune Spear, which according to the wiki is a 1 in 4,000 drop. Now you can wear the Ring of Wealth to increase the chances of getting these drops, but I wasn't wearing a Ring of Wealth, but it definitely seemed like I was with all of the rare drop table items that I kept getting. Now these 1,000 kills were pretty much done in 2 sittings. I did take a nap in between, but for some reason I just had that itch to grind out RuneScape, so we were definitely gaming during this video, and unfortunately we did run into a little rough patch. My internet kind of shut down for a couple hours. As you can see there, it was already lagging, and then eventually we did get hit with the connection loss screen. And because of this, some of the kills on the loot logger weren't tracked because I killed them when my game wasn't connected to the server. So whenever it connected, the loot was already on the ground and it didn't get tracked. But rest assured, we did do 1,000 kills of mole. Technically though, I think we actually did 1,001 because I did not get to pick up the loot from that one disconnection you just saw right now. But I didn't let a little bit of bad connection get in the ways of the motivation to grind out this video. As soon as it was back up, I was back on the grind and we did complete these 1,000 kills. Now something that always interests me whenever I'm doing these loot videos is the drop tables of certain monsters. Now I always like to think that they get their drops from adventurers or other monsters that they may have killed. For instance, Giant Mole drops adamant longswords, mithril plate bodies, amulets of strength, mithril axes, mithril battle axes, rune med helms. I like to think that those are items that warriors brought to try to slay the giant mole. I mean, obviously they're not very strong, so maybe that's why they died. But some of the items are a little confusing. I guess there's no lore attached to it, like U-logs. I don't know why she'd have U-logs. Sharks, unless there's a body of water nearby, I don't know how she'd get that. Maybe adventurers bring sharks and they drop them whenever they die and then she takes them for herself. Or maybe she actually does leave the cave when no one is looking to go fishing, because there were some times throughout this video where she did try to leave. She was headed towards the entrance and she was actually sitting on top of the area that you dig into, so that was pretty funny. But after about 13 to 14 hours, we have finished our 1,000 kills of Giant Mole. Now, if we add in just the mole skin and the mole claws, which are guaranteed drops, it is 21 million GP by itself, so a great portion of the money. With all the other items in there, we're looking at about 25.4 mil. So definitely not a bad moneymaker. Now, originally I was going to make a follow-up video where I tested out this OSRS wiki moneymaker of exchanging mole parts, but according to this, it's not currently profitable to do so. At one point, I'm sure it was, but right now it isn't, so yeah, I'll just be selling all the loot that I got today. Now, I did do a price check to see what the margins were looking like on the mole skin and the mole claws, since that is going to be a bulk of the items that we are selling. Now, the mole claws actually had a pretty big margin of 300 GP, but I still put them in there for the higher end, just so that we can truly maximize the total profit that we made. And surprisingly, the mole parts were actually selling pretty quickly. After 15 minutes, this is how many had sold, and not too much longer, the rest of them did end up selling. So with everything sold, we did manage to make over 25 mil from 1,000 kills of the giant mole. We also managed to get 3 long bones and 1 elite clue scroll that I will be saving for master clues. I just want to say thanks for checking out the video, and if you enjoyed it, please consider giving it a thumbs up and maybe even a subscription. And as always, I will catch you guys in the next episode.